Hello out there, and a big welcome to all of you. Today I have a special guest, Brigitte Meier. It's so nice to have you here, and I'm so excited to hear about everything you're doing with horses. Big welcome to you.
Thank you. Welcome. Yes.
And please tell us a little about your life. How did everything begin with the horses and all?
Well, as probably all of us or most of us, I can't even remember when it started. I just know I always loved horses. I don't know why. It's something that, uh, yeah, from day one. Um, I grew up in a family. My dad had was self-employed, has a mechanic workshop, and I'm from Switzerland. My dad said to us, we were three girls, we don't have the money for horses. And that's something that only rich people can afford.
Mm.
So, I didn't grow up with horses and I didn't have the opportunity to get involved with horses. But of course, there were books around and all kind of other things. And as you go to the countryside, you see horses and you stop at every fence and you watch the horses. And so, I was horse crazy since I remember, and I took every opportunity that I had to read something about horses or just to watch them or pet them. You always find a horse somewhere.
And
And
and you're just
when I
thinking, I'm going to be rich. I want a horse.
no, I was never thinking that I'm going to be rich. I don't know. I just there was, when I was about, I think I can't remember, maybe 12 or something. And there's horses at the farm. And I just stopped by there and I was too polite to ask if I can brush the horse. So I just ask if they maybe need an helping hand somewhere else. And farm people always need helping hand because
Yeah.
I know when I'm on the farm, I'm very close to that horse.
Mm.
And so it got started. And of course, it didn't took long for the farmer to realize that I was horse crazy. And the horse belonged to his employee. And he said, well, if you want to brush the horse, you can brush it. And if you want to clean the stalls, you can clean the stall. And so I got involved with horses. The first farm, they had a Shetland pony, but in Switzerland, it's everything a lot smaller, and the horse industry was at that time small too. And this farmer also had thoroughbred race horses, just one or two, and he had them doing on racing. And I was not really allowed to go into the expensive professional horses, but he also had Shetland ponies.
Mm.
And I was very happy to be there because he showed me how to take care of the Shetland pony. And he always said, it doesn't matter how big those horses or ponies are, treat everyone, no matter how fancy they are or how simple they are, with the same respect. And that's something that I kept through all my life. It doesn't matter how small they are or how big. If they're a fancy thoroughbred, if they're more like a draft type horse, if they have long hair, short coats, be respectful to all of them.
Yeah.
No matter, how they look, and also treat them all the same way. He was teaching me how to lead the horse. And he said, just because it's a small Shetland pony, you lead them the same way as a big horse. And you pick the hoof the same way. And sometimes I miss that from people, because people look, maybe if they have a warm blood, they look at somebody who has an Icelandic pony different, because the Icelandic pony maybe have this long hair and doesn't look as fancy. So yeah, I was very thankful for all those advices that he gave to me at that time.
And
And
also, when you say you treat the horse, if it's a Shetland pony or a bigger horse, the same way, that's a very good thing, because people often, when it's a Shetland pony, they don't have the same respect. Oh, it's just a little one. It's not that fancy, but you have to lead them in the same way and respect them, because a Shetland pony can also run away with you. You don't
they're
have a
cool.
chance if it's not
Yes.
properly led.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Yeah, so I took care of that pony for a few years, and then I moved on and went to another farm, and they had a Swiss mountain horse. It used to be a light draft horse, and it's been more developed to kind of like a warm blood horse, because people like to be more in the common discipline. And I was riding those horses for quite a while, and we have those local riding clubs. And the Swiss mountain horse, I would say Switzerland has warm bloods, and they have the Swiss mountain horses, and those two parties, as I would say, are different. People with Swiss mountain horses, they used to not linger around with the warm blood horses, because that's another class. And so they have in the local club the riding lesson for the Swiss mountain horses, and the other one for the warm blood. And at that time, as I was riding a horse for a lady, and I asked her if I can go and start having riding lessons. And she goes, well, you can, but I don't have a trailer and I'm working. I can't drive you to the riding club. And I was like, well, your horse has 4 legs. I just go and ride there. And it was over an hour to get there.
Yeah.
But I thought that's my chance to have a riding lesson, because before I was reading books and books and books, and I took the books and I sat on the horse and I tried it out and I watched what happens. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't work. And I'm back home and I was reading the book again, or I was reading another book, and I went back to try it. And that's how I, learned. I was reading everything.
Yeah.
Everything about horses. It didn't matter what it was. And yeah, so I decided, okay, I'm going to do that. I took my bicycle. I had to the barn about 40 minutes with the bicycle. I made the horse ready, and I was riding an hour to the riding ring. And we were 12 teenagers with Swiss mountain horses. And we had an instructor who used to teach the military, because early on, the military has the riding instruction that they use their horses.
Yeah.
And he was at that time about 70 years old, and I really enjoyed that. He had a very good way with all those teenage kids and those horses and beginners of being very disciplined, but he also had a good way teaching. And the first thing he said to us is, whatever I tell you, don't take it personally. It's not about you as a person. I give you advice how you can develop yourself as a rider. And that's something that now in the last few years becomes more and more important, because as I'm helping other people, I notice that a lot of people take things very, very personally, and they get emotion. And emotion in horses leads to a whole different thing. And it's not about me correcting the person on an emotional level, about the person himself. I try to help the person to have a communication with the horse. And it needs a little bit of distance. And I always remember that, because, you know, sometimes he had to tell you 100,000 times the same thing.
Yes.
And then, you know, I was thinking, oh, I will never learn it. Maybe I'm just too stupid. And then I remember, no, don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with the person I am. It has just the timing of it. The aids are not right, or, you know, I'm just not there yet. And that was just very good. It was always in the winter. I did it for 2 years. And we were, of course, really, really fit after the winter. I mean, just going to the riding lesson, an hour there, then a 45-minute lesson, an hour back home. We were very much in shape. And the second winter, he said to me, well, see, my little niece will take my horse to the riding lesson. She lives about 40 minutes from here. And of course, since he was in the military, horses been ridden everywhere. He said to me, she's too young to go with the horse, ride by herself through the town. You go and pick her up. And I'm like, oh my God, that's another 40 minutes. But I did it. Because I wanted to continue the riding lesson. So being able to have a riding lesson meant for me to really put a lot of effort in there.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. I mean, I learned so much. And the best of all was for me that I developed a feel for the horse. And that was the first time that I noticed there's so much more you can ride a horse. It's not just about all the aids and everything. It's about the connection you have. And it's, you know, it's like we were going to that place, and sometimes it was not nice in the winter to go there.
No.
It was not good weather, but we did that together. And we went back together, and somehow we bonded in a different way from that experience.
I can imagine. I think it's very hard winter in Switzerland.
Yes, it depends from where you come from. I think it's, you know, it's not so hard. While I was living in the United States for 10 years, and I was in New England.
Yeah.
Winter was much, much harder.
Okay.
But I also don't live in the mountains. I'm more like a flatlander in Switzerland.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there flatland in Switzerland?
Yeah, very small, but there is some, yes.
Okay. I always see Switzerland like this.
No, we have the mountains, the Alps, but then there's also like a, you know, like a plain flatland. Yeah. So that's the beginning. And you know, I just continue to be crazy about horses, and I took every opportunity that I got. And so that's led me into all kind of fields of equestrian sports and horses. And yeah, I'm very happy that I got the opportunity to work with so many different horses. And I did a little bit dressage, some jumping, some cross country. And when I was about 22, I wanted to see a little bit more of the world, and I decided that I would like to get to know people in the world, not as au pair or going through some kind of school. I would really like to work with the people and just get to know them and the daily lives. And I was looking what kind of exchange program I could do, and I ended up in an agriculture exchange program in horse management and production. And I couldn't choose the country I go to, but it didn't matter because I didn't matter. I would go anywhere in the world. And I ended up in the United States. And I was working there with standardbred race horses for a while. Then I was also working with Arabian reining horses and saddle seat horses. And it was very interesting because I got really in touch with people from all over the world, professional people on the racetrack with, a lot of Swedish people coming from the standardbred racing, a lot of horse physio and massage and all kind of different trainings. I got involved with a lot of veterinarians. I was doing rehab. I started to work as a volunteer in Adopt a Racehorse when this association got the horses after they got retired from racing, and we trained them to become a pleasure riding horses. So that was very interesting, but also really tough. Standardbred racing horses to start retraining for a pleasure rider. I thought that was very challenging. It was easier for me to have thoroughbred racing horses to become riding horses for pleasure people than the standardbred. But it was interesting, and that was for me a door opening to gaited horses and from muscles and how everything moves, put a whole different aspect to riding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then somewhere
and you
along,
can imagine what it does for the horse as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just to change everything.
Yeah. And it happens quickly. Most of the time it happens quickly, as when they get retired, like over here, that's two different worlds clashing together. And I was glad that I was very happy to have the opportunity first to work as a groom on the racetrack, because I really got to know the whole racing industry.
Yes.
That helped me to explain pleasure people how they have to handle their horses, and because that's so different. If you don't know the racing world and you're just pleasure riding, that's that's quite a trip,
It is. Yes, really.
Yeah, and so along the way, I brushed the Western riding in the United States. Of course, I have this habit to stick my nose into everything, especially with
I know how it is.
So I wouldn't want to miss that either. And yeah.
You are born curious like me.
Yes, and it's so, I'm happy because it gives me, now I look back and through all those experiences, I have kind of this wonderful gift of really easily understand the horses and help people. And I can explain because I experienced myself. And yeah, that's great.
So what are you doing today?
Today, I'm living in a small village. I have my own little stable. At the moment, I only have one horse that belongs to me, and I have 3 boarders. I'm also involved with draft horses. I do love draft horses, and I do some agriculture work with them, mostly logging. I do some other stuff with the horses, like a little bit of plowing and mowing and things like that. And I got involved with people from Germany because it's so much bigger there in this field than it is here in Switzerland, and I have a hard time to find people here in Switzerland to share and talk about all those things. Also, we don't really have many draft horses in Switzerland. So I'm often in Germany. I also did an education there on helping people to start their draft horses for logging or for pulling or whatever kind of work they do. Also for riding, because it's still a horse, but it's a little bit different than maybe a lighter horse. And I also have I call it a bed and stall. It's a bed and breakfast for people who do trail rides, and they can stay overnight, stable their horses, and have a lovely room to sleep in. Yes, so that's basically what I'm doing.
That's fantastic. Do they ride a trail then and come by you, or they come to you and ride back again, or how is that working?
Differently. Everybody has
Okay.
their own.
Yeah.
I have people who they like to just come for 3 days and stay put and then do little trail rides. Sometimes they discover the area by themselves. Sometimes I help them because I know the area here, and then I tell them you could go this and this way. I help them do trips. Sometimes I ride with them. If I have time, then I guide them. Sometimes I have people that just pass by. So it's everybody does it a little bit different way. I also have a lot of people who are the first time doing a trail ride, and they're insecure, and so I can help them when they want to come, and I'll do maybe first a smaller trip and then a little bit a further trip, and sometimes I get them connected to another stable so they can do the first overnighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's great to meet new people.
Yeah.
And share stories.
Do you have a lot of customers?
Not so much. It depends. Sometimes there are more, then it's quiet again. It's different. Sometimes it could be more people to stay overnight, and then other times I just decide, okay, that's good. I'll look what else I can do.
You say you live on the flatland. Do they have, is it nearby the mountains so they can go on trail in mountains, or is it what do you have to show around you?
Okay, it's not completely flat. It's not like the
No?
plains.
No?
It's more the Ural, where it has rolling hills. It's a wonderful lake. It's called the Halwilersee. It's very, very beautiful. If you visit my website, the homepage, you can see my horse looking over a sunflower field on this very lovely lake, this Halwilersee. You can go and do a trail ride around the lake. There's also a lot of little restaurants. You can go and, eat lunch or just have a drink. There's a lot of castles.
Wow.
That you can go and visit. Most of the time, it's a little bit hard if you can't tie your horse outside the castle while you go around inside the castle. But, you can just go to the castle and see it from the outside. There's a tower called Esterliturm. That's very large tower. It's like a chimney, and this step that goes round and round and round, and it's higher than the tree, and you have a really beautiful sight over the whole area here. There's a lot of very nice little things you can do. And it's not that far, because sometimes I notice that if people not used to it, if they go on a 3-hour trail ride, their butt hurts and then they would like to come back. So
Yes, I know the
you have
feeling.
to do things in small doses, you know.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So you have pillows on your chairs when they come.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But you also told me that you have been on a uh, onto Germany right now to judge. I want you to tell a little about that as well.
Yeah. Um, I was competing in logging with horses, and then after my horses retired from that, I got into judging the logging competition. And 2 weeks ago, there was the European Championship in Germany in logging, and also in plowing. And I was a judge for the logging competition. Um, we had a break a couple of years, otherwise it would have every 2 years is this European Championship, and it was very interesting. We had people from quite a few nations, from France. We had people from Denmark, from Sweden, from Norway, from Austria, from the Czech Republic, and from Lithuania. And it was great to see that all the competitioners were really, really professional, and had really good horse handling. They were really precise with the obstacle they have to do, and the training of the horses was great. They were in really good shape, and I love to see that.
Yes,
I
it
really love
warms
to
my
see that.
heart
Yeah,
too that
yeah,
the
yeah.
horses are in good shape
Mhm.
and there was a lot of breeds there also.
Yeah, yeah, there was a lot of breeds, mostly draft, the big draft horses. Was also nice to see Norwegian fjord ponies or
Yes,
horses, excuse me, because I kind of got switched in translation. It's a horse, it's not a pony. Yeah, that was really good to see. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's always amazing that when you see those really big draft horses and they just move like centimeters by centimeters, they do
yes,
very little small steps. And of course, if you have like this log behind them which is 8 meter long, and you have to go through some little cones basically, because you simulate the trees in the wood, and
yeah,
you pull the log around the trees because you don't want to damage the trees that's still standing. And then they have little cones, and on top a tennis ball, and the tennis
yeah,
ball should stay up top of those. Yeah, then it needs a lot of skills and
yeah,
a lot of patience.
yeah,
And it just, sometimes if you have to pull the log to put it in balance, you have one log that's on the ground, and then you have the log that it's connected to the horses. You pull them on top of the other log, and you move the horse forward so that the beam balances itself. And that's just millimeter by millimeter. And sometimes you just have to ask the horse to put a little bit more weight on their forehand, just a little,
mm.
to move that log. And that's so precise, and that is it's amazing. That's
It's a
really,
fantastic connection between human and horse there because they know they are human, the
yeah,
horses, and they know if they just do a little here and there, it's okay.
yeah,
It's fantastic to see. I have been a lot in the woods as well with Norwegian, no, not Swedish horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nordsvensk.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but it's also a draft horse. It's
Mhm.
fantastic to see when they drive in the wood.
Yeah. Yes, but
Yes.
that was good, and I'm excited because of course we all see other things too, but I have to say that everybody who was there had a great handling of their animals and a super performance, and that's so nice to see.
Yes, and to see that it's still alive with plowing and all these things now when you don't use the horse as a farmer. It's fantastic that they keep going with these kind of things, I
Mhm.
think.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you are out there and see a lot.
Yeah, that's true, and I
Mm,
like that too, because sometimes when I'm just, let's say, around my own barn,
mm.
um I miss the exchange with other people. And sometimes I'm a person, because I spent so many years abroad, that I think the world, it's so great if you have people from other countries, because they keep the horses differently. In Switzerland, everything is small. You have a stable and you have a paddock, and of course the animals are close by. And it's in the United States, it's so much bigger, and
Mhm.
you know, it's a different handling, and I like to see all those different people, the different ways of keeping their animals, and also different breeds, and so yeah, that's important for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, if people wants to get in touch with you and maybe ride a trail, where can they find you?
I have a website. The name of the website is Hof zum Busch. It's probably a little bit difficult for people
Yeah, please
read.
spell it.
Okay, that's HOFZUMBUSCH.ch, and it's where I live. Actually, it's the name of the area where I live, because you know the local have always their little names for the region they live in.
Yeah. And they can, if you are occupied, are there other people there they can go to, or how does this work?
Um, can you tell it to me once again, because I couldn't understand your
Yeah,
question?
if you want to go to on a hike there in this
Yeah.
area, are
Mhm.
you alone there, or is there other people around so they can go to you and then go to the next place?
They can go to next places. There's also certain platforms where you can go on the internet, and they have a map of Switzerland where all those bed and stables or trail
Okay.
rider station are listed.
Yes.
And then you can look where, in which area you want to ride, and you can contact the people. Some of the people I know, you know, my network is going bigger and bigger, and I always look that I can, you know, if people tell me what they want to do or how long the trail ride should be, that I can give them tips of where they can stay overnight.
Wow. So you can help them to find
Exactly.
it. Yeah, that's
Because
great.
sometimes it's also private. If I know that there's a farmer and I know him well, then I can
Mm?
give him a phone call and say, I got 2, 3 people's coming by. Can we just have the horses somewhere? And that works too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great with cooperation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for taking your time today to be here with me. It's so interesting. I'm also curious about the other countries. How is it working and meet people all over. It's fantastic. So thank you very much for joining us here today.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me here.
And I hope I'll get you a lot of people there. Maybe they will come from Hungary one day.
Yes, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you, all of you who had listened here. And don't forget to subscribe. It means a lot to me that people are coming in, and invite your friends, because we are all a big family, all the horse people all over the world. So thanks a lot for today, and see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.